3 altcoins that I think could potentially 100x. Let's roll that intro and get right down into it. Okay guys, so today we are going to be discussing 3 different altcoins that I think are going to perform very, very well in that next bullish market. These are what I would classify as slightly higher risk cryptocurrency assets than your kind of typical kind of blue chips, which would be your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Cardanos, your Solanas. These are much smaller in market cap size, and as a result you will generally find that they'll have a lot more volatility to them, meaning you end up with those 100x gains, but you could also end up with very significant losses. So I wanted to just kind of say right off the bat, this is going to be a high risk play, something that if you're going to look into, you should do your own research. Obviously I am no financial advisor, I am just literally sharing my thoughts and opinions on the data as I see it. And yeah, let's go and roll right into that first altcoin. So altcoin number 1. Altcoin number 1 is going to be one that I think many of people in the Discord and on the channel and the community will know about. I've done phenomenally well most recently with this particular altcoin, and that is Aurora. Now Aurora is a layer 2 for the NEAR protocol, or NEAR, and I think it's going to perform very, very well in that next bullish market. Now I think layer 2s, generally speaking, specifically for Ethereum, but generally as well, are going to be very key performers in that next bullish market. And I think that we're going to see Aurora do so many gains. We've already seen it do phenomenally well from its recent lows only a few months ago to over 74 cents. Now, ultimately, Aurora, I think, has only just started. It has the potential to go up to its previous all-time high, which was over $30, but I am going to kind of hold out and say, let's see if we can actually get some traction first. I think for anyone who was buying Aurora down at 6.5 cents, 7 cents, you've done phenomenally well. Ultimately, anything lower than 10 cents, you've done very, very well. And we've seen a good run so far, but I think it's only just the beginning. We have retraced quite a bit, and we're into a pretty comfortable zone at the point of recording this video. And I think some dollar cost averaging at around, 30, 20 cents is going to be very, very profitable. I do expect though that we will retrace more, and I do think that we will see some better prices. This is why I say dollar cost averaging is a really good strategy. Now, ultimately, Aurora, I think in the longer term is going to perform very well. We might see some short-term volatility, we might spike back up, we might drop back down, and so forth. But long term, I think it's going to be very, very well positioned to perform very, very well. So it is one that I think you guys are going to want to do some research on. You may feel like you missed the boat a little bit, but keep an eye on it, because I do think it is going to retrace a bit, and we are going to see some better prices when it comes to Aurora. Okay, so that was altcoin number 1. The second altcoin that I want to talk about, guys, is one that we've been very bullish on since I think early 2021, before many people even knew that this altcoin existed. Most recently, it's had a bit of a run to the upside, and it's good to see the portfolio popping as a result. This, of course, is 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘. Now, 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 is a play-to-earn metaverse game on the Cardano ecosystem. But they're not looking to stay on Cardano. I think they are going to look at other chains in the future as well. So this is one that I think you're going to want to try again, do more research on, just come to learn what it is that they're doing and all that good stuff. Obviously, we've been involved with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 since early 2021, and yeah, we've even had the privilege of being able to work with their dev teams and build an in-game asset, which many of you guys know as the 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗧, and you can find that on the JPEG store, along with all the other fantastic 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗧 NFTs as well. Now, with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗧, the game itself, we've actually played it as testers, and yeah, it's coming along very, very nicely. I think it's going to be a very immersive game that I think people are going to be able to gravitate towards and actually utilize. Now, 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪 is going to be the in-game asset, at least as I understand it, and will have a key role to play within the ecosystem. Now, 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪 has performed very, very well since we've held it, and it's good to see that it's pushed up towards 10 cents at the moment from its lows of around 1 cent, which means we've already seen a good 10x on our investment. That's outside of the NFTs that they have as well. Everything from the land, the domes, the cars, the bubble jets and the javelins and so forth. All of these assets are usually doing very, very well within the secondary market as well from an NFT point of view. But obviously today we're talking more about 𝗕𝗘𝗪 as the actual asset. And well, we don't have a lot of history to kind of rely on to say it's going to be going up to these X, Y, and Z heights. I think the progression of the game, which is yet to launch, and yet the progression of 𝗕𝗘𝗪 alongside that is a clear indication of things to come. I think we're going to see this particular altcoin absolutely explode in 2024 as it starts to get real good traction alongside the game and the NFT assets. Again, like I said, it's one you're going to have to do research on. I do think all of these altcoins I'm talking about today are high risk, but altcoins I think you're going to want to kind of do research on and come to your own conclusions on as well. That will bring me across to the third altcoin for today. Now, altcoin number 3 is one that will kind of split opinions to a point. You're either going to like it or you're going to hate it. You're going to kind of be all for those potential gains or the use cases, or you're going to be really anti those use cases. I think there's a legacy problem when it comes to privacy-based projects. And I think we need to kind of shape what the privacy landscape looks like when it comes to cryptocurrency. And so we are going to be talking about altcoin number 3 being a privacy-based coin, not like Monero, but more like something that is regulatory compliant to a degree. Obviously, we don't really fully know what the global landscape looks like from a regulatory point of view, but we do know that if we want to see blockchain technology truly utilized, certain parts of users are going to want to have their metadata kind of private, right? But private to a point where you can open it up and you can kind of say to third parties, you can have access to this particular type of metadata. And so when it comes to privacy, it's quite important. But obviously, we talk about medical records and how certain medical records are going to have to be private, and you only really want your GPs or your doctors to be able to kind of unmask those areas of your personal data and identity, and so that they can utilize that information to help you, right? But we can also talk about privacy in the gaming sector as well, which is also vitally important, which brings us into 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘. Now, 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 is that third altcoin. It is a privacy-based altcoin, and there's so many different use cases that you could utilize the technology for. I think for the most part, they are going to be pitching themselves as a gaming privacy-based project where games could pick and choose what elements could become private on chain. And so clear examples of this are first-person shooters. Let's just take Call of Duty as an example, right? One of the most popular first-person shooters out there. We could argue that wouldn't it be really beneficial if other players, other users of the game couldn't see the kind of gun that you had, the attachments that you had on the weapons, and so forth. And that's the element here for privacy-based blockchain gaming, where you could see certain elements of the game being masked, and maybe your teammates can see certain elements and maybe your opponents couldn't. Maybe, you want to kind of trade NFTs, but certain elements of those NFTs are private as well. There's a whole world open here for privacy-based gaming, and I think this is one that has some pretty significant potential in the future. Now, it's in very early stages, and I think there's definitely going to be some interesting things to unfold in the future when it comes to 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘. Now, FRA is the native asset for 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘, and it has performed well to a point. It's had some pretty decent growth. It's consolidated down, and it's pretty decent level right now for accumulation and DCA, in my opinion. But I do expect further downside, like I do across the rest of the crypto space. Again, one to do more research on and start to learn a little bit more about it. Now, if you do own FRA, 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘, then you can stake that for passive returns in the same way that you do with Harmony One or Cardano, Elrond, 𝗕𝗪𝗠𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗦 as it's known as today, all the way through to 𝗕𝗑𝗪𝗏 and many other proof of stake blockchains, right? You can stake your FRA. Now, we run the world's largest pool for FRA at the moment with about 135 million FRA in it, earning about 16 to 17% annual returns for those investors. The earlier you get into that, the more returns you generally see. So if you are looking at buying up Findora, you can get it delegated to the pool and you can start earning a nice passive income on those holdings as well. It'll help you hedge against any potential downside when it comes to the price action, which I do expect there to be some downside in the near future for Findora. So a dollar cost averaging strategy, as I've said before, is one that works very, very well. And so again, 3 altcoins that I've spoken about today, all higher risk than your standard kind of blue chips, as I said. Ones what I think are worth doing more research on and starting to come to terms with how you feel about whether you think 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗀 is going to do well, Findora is going to do well, or Aurora. Well worth checking them out nonetheless. And hell, you might find that you want to add these to your portfolio. I'm going to leave the video right there though, guys. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.